displaced by Boko Haram violence and environmental challenges such as droughts. The president said the good governance, democracy, and rule of law were expanding in Africa. I beg your pardon. Emphasizing the proactive role played by the economic community of West African states, like we said earlier on. Harry Spice is in the building. Thank you for joining us, and it's good to have you today.
Good morning, Peter. It's my pleasure to be here this morning.
Mayowa joins us as well. She's new on the team, and she's going to be here quite often. It's good to have you on the show.
Thank you very much, Peter.
So let's start with the president's position and his delivery yesterday. I mean, we had to wait behind to ensure that we watched that performance. I call it performance because, again, I was trying to compare the activities relating to what the presidents of other countries were saying about the situation across the globe and what Nigeria's president had to say about his own side of experience as president. What do you have to say about that, Harry Spice?
Yes, his entrance into the UN podium was dramatic. It's literally the whole world waited in bated breath to have the president of the most populous black nation on earth speaks. And when he spoke, it was an excellent delivery of what a president of a country should say before the world. In fact, it was so dramatic that CNN had to coin this word that President Muhammadu Buhari didn't speak as a president of Nigeria, but as president of Africa. So it was a legendary outing for me, if you ask.
It was legendary?
Yep, it was.
And what do you think, Mayowa? The president, focused more on international policies rather than the situations across Nigeria. What is your perception about that?
What I think is, I think it's quite unfortunate that our president didn't note all that goes on, in the country. There are lots of things going on presently in our nation, and the president had to focus on international issues in Nigeria, and not getting enough global recognition as it should. So I think the president could have used that opportunity to highlight on so many things that are going wrong with the country that he could, do better. Thank you.
All right. So
yeah.
Go ahead.
It wasn't a gathering for domestic discussion. It was a gathering for international diplomacy, where nations, take charge of situation in their continent. So President Muhammadu Buhari didn't go to the UN to start speaking about domestic squabble or problems, as it may be. All the presidents of the world that spoke on issues that affect the world, talking about global, the world order. So it will amount to taking your dirty linen to the public for washing. And Nigerian problem is a Nigerian problem and not a global problem.
Harry Spice, let us be honest.
Yep.
Nigeria's problems are caused by some countries around the world. One of those is the issue of the stealing of Nigerian oil. We have seen that. We have seen ammunition stripping and coming into the country at various levels, coming from the international community. How is Al Qaeda and how is Boko Haram fighters? How are the Boko Haram fighters financed in the first instance? Those are some of the questions.
Yes, I think
a lot of Nigerians were expecting the president to address.
Yes, the president raised the issue of Boko Haram, which has become a global issue, not just a Nigerian issue, because whether you like it or not, Boko Haram it's an international concern. And I think I heard the president talking about calling for world collaboration to defeat the menace of Boko Haram. So that it's an agenda that the president took. It's the Boko Haram issue is not just a Nigerian issue, but a world issue.
The president moved away from African issues to the issue in Myanmar and Yemen, likening the persecution of Rohingya Muslims in the latter country to the crisis in Bosnia and Rwanda in the 1990s. He said Nigeria supports the Secretary General's call on Myanmar to to stop his ethnic cleansing of Rohingya. What do you have to say about that, Maiwa? Is it something of interest to the Nigerian community? Aren't Nigerians being killed here in Nigeria?
I think it is an issue that has to be addressed, because yes, a lot of Nigerians are being killed in Nigeria. So definitely the president took the right step to be concerned about what is going on outside Nigeria, but he also needs to put in mind as well that a lot of people are being killed in the northern region as well. So whatever it is he is trying to advise to be done in the international African society, he should try to imbibe that as well in the Nigerian society.
That is absolutely correct. I agree with you. But just like I said, it is the world gathering. So we, as a country, we should be mindful of our export, the export of our problems. You know, it's not everything that should overwhelm a country. When you begin to call for international intervention for pockets of crisis in your country, it portrays you as a nation that it's not serious, that cannot take care of its own problem. Every day, like a weeping child, you go before the world begging for intervention. Then why therefore are you a nation? That should be the concern. We have the capacity to maintain law and order, to protect our territorial sovereignty. So it's not every issue that we should always go hand in cap in hands, begging for people's intervention. We must be seen to take charge of our situations.
What about the responsibility of being the president of the largest country in terms of the most populous black nation in the world, and his responsibility to Africa? Do you think that Buhari had tried to maintain that stance for Nigeria?
Yes, from the pictures we saw, from the video we watched, you could see that the word actually, he spoke on behalf of Africa. Whether you like it or not. Did
he speak the minds of Africans?
It's difficult to speak the minds of everybody, but diplomatically he spoke like you know, a true African Pan-Africanist, if I may use that word. Because we're talking about the issue, the troubles in Myanmar, definitely this is a human rights issue. Every right-thinking person should speak in condemnation of that. As it's expected that we should also speak about the degrading, the devastating effects of Boko Haram in Nigeria. So when you speak against injustice, definitely you're speaking for Africa and you're speaking for the world.
Well, the president concluded his statement by reaffirming Nigeria's commitment to the goals and principles of the United Nations in order to build a more peaceful and developed world. And I remember him reiterating the fact that they have Nigeria, right from our independence, has continued to support the ideals of the United Nations. But what is the role of the United Nations in Nigeria? How has it helped and assisted Nigeria? Even though he mentioned part of that, especially on the part of humanitarian assistance and all of that. Mayo, you want to add to that? Okay, so Harris Price is itchy.
Yes, the UN intervention is not just during conflict resolution. Like the president said, we should give credit to them. They've been involved in managing social crises, issues like the HIV pandemic. You can't rule out the UN intervention in that aspect. You also can't rule out the fact that they've been providing technical support to Nigeria in terms of world peace. The Boko Haram issue, I think the UN was actually affected in Nigeria, and I remember how the UN rallied the world to Nigeria's aid. So even though they are not doing as much as it is expected, we should also give them that credit that they've been where we need them to be. Remember, we are a sovereign nation, and it's not every intervention that we should seek as an independent nation.
So you might want to make contributions to X-Ray today. Majid unfortunately had traveled, so he won't be available. Olive is somewhere in the newsroom trying to put things in order. She will join us shortly. But if you want to be part of our discourse, you can call us up on 0818 991011. So be part of the discussion on X-Ray. We're talking about the president's speech at the United Nations General Assembly yesterday. He was the 8th speaker, and it was the 72nd annual General Assembly of the United Nations in New York. We also saw that he was not the only president that made statements regarding activities within the global space. Most presidents that spoke seem to have been talking about activities around the world pertaining to other countries. Are there no issues in those countries? Those are some of the areas we're concerned about. So again, if you want to be part of this discourse, you can call us up on 081 89 99 1011 and make your contributions known on the program. Now, Harris Spice, do you see a new Nigeria emanating, following discussions at the United Nations General Assembly in terms of international participation in any kind of politics?
Yes, we can't deny the fact that Nigeria has regained its place in international world order. We are now being seen as a serious nation, whether we like it or not. We may have our own shortcomings, we may have pockets of problem in the country, but the world actually respects Nigeria. The world sees Nigeria as a partner in world peace, as a partner in economic prosperity, as a partner in even sports development. So the place of Nigeria in the international world has actually increased to a level of respect.
Good morning.
Okay, we have a caller. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. It's good to have you on the program.
Yeah, well, my name is Wale.
All right, Wale, go ahead. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Abuja Industrial Area.
Please go ahead.
Yes, well, I appreciate our president for putting General as an African man. Really appreciate him, and we will pray to God, the God regard him, and let him be a man who will improve us as a nation, Nigeria as a whole at large.
Okay.
So I really want to beg of you to have in mind to pray for that man to take us to the positive man.
All right, thank you so much for your contribution, Wale. I think prayers have always and continuously been part of the activities in Nigeria over the past how many years now since the president came in. So, especially when he took ill and traveled abroad for treatment. We have another caller on the line.
Yeah, hello, good morning.
Good morning. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Yeah, my name is Mr. Pascal, calling from ASUU.
Pascal, you're welcome to the program.
What I have to contribute is, actually, other leaders in part of it, but not that they don't have the issues, they have, but the most important thing, the manner they conduct or they take care of the cry of the citizens matters. The issue we have in our country today, it's all about understanding. Show love. When a man in a family has 3, 4, 5 children, and one is misbehaving, we expect the man to call the young man or the child who is misbehaving. Why are you misbehaving? Why your attitude has changed from others? And here you understand his plight, and immediately you have to act or plan how you can be able to take care of that situation. The problem on ground has not gone beyond the government. I urge, thank God for Mr. President, he's healthy. We thank God he's present in UN.
Okay.
And he also made his speech. Kudos to him and to us, the citizens of this country.
Okay.
But the cry that is on ground is what we expect Mr. President to take care of. It hasn't gone beyond the government. Okay. It's all about showing love, care, and concern. If there's nothing wrong in agitating. Are you with me?
I can hear you.
Hello?
I can hear you. Okay. I think we lost connection there. But we have Olive in the building. Thank you for joining us on the program, Olive.
Apologies for coming late.
You know, we understand you had to take care of business in the newsroom.
Yeah.
So we've been talking about the President's presentation at the United Nations General Assembly. I know you monitored that as well. And this morning we had to talk very briefly about it. But I'll get back to you once I'm done with this call. Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Adam, calling from Sagari Layout in Italy.
Thank you for joining us.
I want to make comments on what the President said during the meeting, during the United Nations
General Assembly.
I don't expect General Assembly. I don't expect him to say so that the one thing I want him to know, he has no moral right to criticize any religious cleansing of Rohingya in Myanmar, while the same thing is going on right at its note here. If you look at the state that the Fulanis, under the disguise of the Fulanis, are cleansing Christians.
I don't want to have any relationship with
I think I want to
whatever claims you're making, you have to be factual about it,
exactly.
and I don't see
that's also what I want to
that
say.
being factual. Go ahead,
Because
Olive.
I did pose that question to a representative of government this morning, and what he had to say is similar to what you just said now. He said these are allegations, there are just allegations of human rights abuses, and there is no target to any particular ethnicity or whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that even these allegations, just like I said the other day, needs to be investigated. You don't just see videos online and you conclude that this actually happened. So there is really need for people to give the military the chance to at least carry out proper investigation, ensure that these things actually happened before you present it to the international community or what have you.
Yes, and again, we should be mindful of our choice of words. You can't you can't say Fulani herdsmen. We're talking about herdsmen.
Herdsmen, yeah.
A herdsman can be any tribe.
Yeah.
So we should refrain from attaching people's tribe to crime.
Yeah.
You know, crimes are committed by human beings, not by tribes. We are humans first before we are tribal.
Or you simply say atrocities committed by unknown gunmen,
unknown attackers, and you know, again, we've had clashes or attacks in Zamfara. Zamfara is dominantly a Muslim state, so we can't say the headsmen are also killing.
Yeah.
No, it's not accepted.
So it's not.
But thank you so much for making that.
I think I quite agree with that, because not all Fulanis are herdsmen, and not all herdsmen are Fulanis.
Yes, so that is completely
very good. We are clear on that.
Yes, a statement. It's not non-factual, so that is condemned absolutely. And we'd like to appeal to our callers to refrain from using words that are not radio friendly, refrain from using abusive words or statements that seem non-factual. Let's hear from Mayowa. Mayowa, you want to add to that?
Yes, I also strongly believe, just as Olive had mentioned, and our partner here, we shouldn't ascribe these atrocities to any region, any occupation, any tribe. We could have a banker who could be a thief. We can't say, oh, he's a thief banker, so all bankers are thieves. So we just have to leave it at certain easy words just to describe whatever has been done. This unknown gunman, we should just leave it as the basic thing without.
All right, so we have a caller on the line. Hello. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. My name is Emmanuel.
Very quickly, because we're going on a break.
All right. On the statement of Mr. President in the UN General Assembly meeting going on now, he's quick to call on US to have a dialogue with South Korea. But he's not quick to go into dialogue with IPOB and allow peace to reign in Nigeria. As it is, whatever he says stands, and we count on every single statement from his mouth. You understand? So we wish him to come back, call the people to a round table and discuss, because violence
this new peace to the country. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll go on a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll take more calls and reactions from our panelists. Thank you, and stay with Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. This is X-Ray.
It's here again, the biggest and the best trade forum for business matchmaking. Abuja Chamber of Commerce and Industries bringing you the 12th Abuja International Trade Fair. The theme, returning Nigeria to the path of self-sufficiency through non-oil exports. From the 21st of September to the 7th of October at the JT Usaini International Trade Fair Complex, Kilometer 8, Airport Road, Piwoyi, Abuja. The Abuja Trade Fair is the ideal trade fair for international and domestic exhibitors to promote new products and communicate face-to-face with manufacturers. With over 1,200 estimated visitors from home and abroad and 30,000 visitors to the fair every day, the 12th edition of the Abuja International Trade Fair promises to be more exciting, informative, create valuable business interactions, and guarantee return. For further inquiries, call 070-1111-0783 or 070-1111-3673. The 12th Abuja International Trade Fair. Be there.
Well, welcome back from the break. It's X-Ray on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. We're talking about and reviewing the presidential statement as at yesterday during the United Nations General Assembly. We've been getting reactions from callers, and let's now hear from Harry Spice.
Yeah, the last caller talked about the president coming back to dialogue with IPOB, because he advocated that the world should dialogue with which of the countries? Is it North Korea? Yeah, we should understand that IPOB is not a nation. So Nigeria has mechanism in resolving her own internal problems. We have the governors of these states that can actually address whatever misgivings that we have. The president of the country speaks to all Nigerians, not just an agitated group. You know, the best way to address agitation is to provide solutions to the problem being raised. So the advocacy should be that whatever is the agitation, the government should actually respond in addressing those things. If it's for political representation, I think the president has little he can do about that. But if we're talking about development of the region, it is his responsibility and all other people in government as well as citizens to ensure that things are provided for every part of this country, not just the eastern state, not just the middle belt state, not just the northwest or north. All parts of Nigeria should have this sense of belonging, that we all belong to Nigeria and Nigeria is our land. So we shouldn't shift the narrative to a particular section of the country agitating for what is theirs or what should be theirs. Yes. The general thing should be a blanket, agitation for good governance. And we must put the government to task. That's why we elected them into government. We mustn't rise with cutlasses or with threat of secession before our government does what is expected. The government must do its own bids.
One more caller before we move to the next item on our agenda. Hello. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Morning. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Welcome to X-Ray.
This is Ifeanyi from Buhari.
Ifeanyi, I was expecting your call much earlier.
Yes, I was expecting my call yesterday when the network was very bad.
Oh, the network was terrible.
Yes.
Yes.
The speech of our dear president in the UN Assembly is a very good one. He really represented Nigeria very well in the assembly. He spoke well on the mind of Africa. And I thank God that he really presented Africa. He represented Africa more than Nigeria, and that's it. I hope you know that. So I thank God for him. Instead of watching our dirty image outside, he just made a tough guy, a little remark, and then concentrated on Africa.
Ifeanyi, thank you so much for contributing on X-Ray this morning. So if I believes that the president spoke his mind, he spoke for Africa, he spoke for Nigeria, as a matter of fact, tried to reaffirm Nigeria's position as the lead country in Africa, the leader among African countries. Do you agree with that, Olive?
Well, let me just use the word, what rocks your boat might sink mine. That is Ifani's position, and I know a lot of Nigerians who still hold to that particular position. But that doesn't also leave out the fact that there are still some Nigerians who feel the president, of course, otherwise. For me, I think the president did not do bad yesterday. But like I said, even before the speech yesterday, the most important thing is not what you said but coming home to match words with action. Like Haru Spice earlier noted, there is need for good governance and there is need to move the country forward, and those are the things we want to see happening and not just speaking. So
now let's quickly move to the educational system. So somebody cracked a joke yesterday. It was an expensive joke. He says a friend of his from one mentioned country had asked him what ASUU means, and he says it's an annual festival where students go on break for some 7 months and then come back to resume school. So it's cool and all of that. But that was just a joke that was on social media. Back to business. ASUU, one of the shortest strikes ever embarked upon by ASUU. What's your take on the resolutions and the ability of the government to quickly meddle into the issue?
Well, for me, I would say it's very commendable that at least for the first time we have ASUU going on a strike for a very short period. But then again, I'm concerned because if you read that statement very well, you understand that they said they are temporarily suspending the strike. Conditional suspension.
What led to that conditionality?
That they are giving the government 1 month,
like
1 month to
address
end of the month, right?
End of October, yeah.
End of October. Yeah, it's just 1 month to address some of the issues raised.
The issues have continued to linger from 1999 up until date. In fact, I've lost count of the ASUU presidents that I've interviewed over the years. It's a great concern for Nigeria, isn't it?
My grudge is that ASUU will always use the students as bargaining or blackmailing chips. Few days to examination, you called for strike without considering the plight of these students. They've spent like 4 months, 5 months in school, you without calling for strike. Then just few days to exams, you declaring a strike. To me, it's a moral issue. It's not fair to the students, it's not fair to the system, and it's also not fair to the parents.
But it's going to push the government further, isn't it?
Just like you said, ever since we know what strikes are. Every day we go on strike, and the same thing, will always crop up. What have we done? Can't we devise new strategies in engaging government? Must we down tool? And the funny thing is that the students are back on campus. What are they going to do now? You rush them to write exams.
Yes.
What they've read before now, definitely, I'm sure they would have forgotten. And tomorrow you accuse students of being half-baked graduates.
Yes.
Do you produce leaders like in this way? Whatever the misgivings with government, with ASUU, these people should sit down and address issues without punishing the students. This to me, it's punishment.
Haru Spice, you call it punishment, but it is the reality.
I spent 6 years for a 4-year program in the university for no fault of mine. I'm sure people here will also attest to it. For how long?
No. She didn't go to a federal university. She was in a private university. Weren't you? You went to a private university.
Yes.
Maiwa.
Yes,
so you can't compare.
I did have friends who were in the federal university.
So you didn't experience it, you heard about it?
Yes, I did hear about it, but I saw the pain and I heard a lot of the complaints. So it's actually really painful to be in that situation. You could also even make them think, oh, if I were to be in a private university, this wouldn't be happening to me. But unfortunately, I cannot afford it. There's several situations that would make made these students think about the opportunities they could have had, but unfortunately they are not, they don't have access to the resources.
So somebody made a comment once and said, is it a stylish way by the federal government to avert the rising case of unemployment? So intentionally, to an extent, it's as if there's a common, unanimously agreed stance on how we can manage unemployment in Nigeria. So therefore, let's sort of like not give ASUU what they want, so they will delay the students and not put people on the streets. I heard that from somebody.
How will you handle that? It's not funny.
Let's speak to the mic, please.
I don't believe that is true, because it sounds funny. Because at the end, even when some of us spent extra 1 year or two before we graduated, at the end, every year people graduate. Every year people go for NYSC. Every year graduates are churned out. The concern of most of us is, what kind of graduate do we churn out every year? Like he said, because of these strikes, most of the students end up coming out half-baked. That's why you even notice that sometimes when you apply for schools abroad and all that, they will tell you with so now it's not just Nigeria now, with so certificate you are not going to be enrolled into this and that, and that is a very big concern. And I think government, ASUU, concerned parties should really look into it, because when two elephants fight, the grass actually suffer, and the grass here now is the students
and the parents.
The parents now, because when you pay extra now you might not pay extra for school fees, but when you spend 6 years doing a 4-year course, you spend on expenses, you pay for house, and all that. I really think something needs to be done, and fast.
Some of the grasses that have suffered under the two elephants that have fought are still here. See, Haru Spice, and he's doing well.
Myself.
And yourself, at least you've gotten it.
But we're just a few out of a majority. And I think the point is that ASUU government, we should begin to look inward to see how we can actually address these issues once and for all. We can't continue to rigmarole in same situation year in, year out. It doesn't help out. Now, talking about revenue, isn't it high time the universities began to articulate how to generate revenue internally? I may be pedestrian, but I think from
but let me tell you how some universities, their best definition of raising revenue, increasing of school fees.
Yeah, that is an archaic and outdated, very non-innovative way of raising revenue. Now let's talk about the university system. This is a place, it's a hub for developing, products for the society. In the university, you have engineers, you have communicators, you have, food people. Can't the university begin to produce the light it's used? What about the food that it's consumed? Can't we have Department of Food and Nutrition serving at providing catering services to the university?
Where does that leave the responsibility of the federal government and the declaration by the UNICEF as to how much percentage of the national budget should go into education sector in every country?
I thought revenue generated from universities goes to federal government, and in return it comes as allocation.
But some universities have raised revenue over the time, and we still haven't seen any development.
I'll give you an example of Uni Ilori. They've never been involved in any strike action, and when you meet a Uni Ilori graduate, you're speaking to.
Are you speaking authoritatively?
Yes, from authority. I can hit my chest to say the people from Uni Ilori are well grounded in both character and learning, because they took their time to study in school. They were never interrupted or distracted by a strike action.
And how did that work? How did that manage?
They opted out of ASUU. I think that was 99 during the former President Obasanjo's time. They had issue and they were actually banned from the system. And as we speak, Unilori, it's maybe the third or fourth in terms of university ranking. That tells you that strike action is outdated. we mustn't always down tool to address issues.
So what other method can they, refer their grievances to the government? How can they?
Dialogue for me, it's always the way out.
But I tell you what, in the Western nations, strikes are becoming more popular. We've seen that in Germany, in the airline sector. We've also seen that in the United Kingdom, in the rail sector.
These are essential everyday services. We're talking about, okay, 1 month and government did not do anything. It took 1 month for ASUU and government to arrive at, a consensus of reopening the schools. So why do we have to wait until
but Harris-wise, 1 month is at least commendable.
With our history.
I mean, taking a look at 1999 to date,
we spent 6 months.
All the agreements between the federal government and ASUU have not been fulfilled for no just cause. But Mayowa, your experience in the private universities, what is so special about them? Is it the consistency of academic calendars, or is there something we're not seeing that the government should really take from the private universities?
I think the consistency in private universities is what really makes it different to an extent. The consistency in the educational calendar. You're sure once you resume a certain month, you're staying for the number of years, as long as you stick to the school's regulation regarding the standard of education, as long as you're within the minimum CGPA and all of that. I actually wanted to buttress further on what he said about unilawyering. Unilawyering is self-sufficient to an extent. I think that is something universities in Nigeria should try to focus on, being self-sufficient, not having to rely on the government for everything that they would need, financially most especially. They have to, when there are strikes and all of that, they end up graduating half-baked people, half-baked students, who at the end of the day, the ripple effects, goes on to them on their postgraduate degree. They're unable to, it shortens their opportunities, basically. Mm-hmm. So, unfortunately, private universities, on the other hand, are not as affordable as the government-funded, the public universities. So, I strongly believe there's a lot the federal government can do regarding the universities. The ASUU strike doesn't. There's so much they can do. So
the ASUU has suspended the strike and directed lecturers to resume today. The Academic Staff Union of Universities also has officially suspended its 1 month, 6 days old strike. Also said it was suspending the strike till end of October for government to fulfill its pledges. The union directed university lecturers to resume duties from Tuesday, that's yesterday. Right? And the suspension of the strike was announced on Monday evening after a meeting with the government delegation. So at the meeting, a memorandum of understanding was signed with the federal government delegation led by the Minister of Labour, Chris Ngige, who said both parties produced collective agreements of action after the meeting. ASUU embarked on an indefinite strike on August 13 following government's failure to implement the agreement reached with the union in November 2016. So it's not even too far away. I mean, how long do we keep hearing that? Well, let's take a call from our listener. Hello?
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us, Ayo.
Thank you.
Go ahead, please.
I regard to the results that
all right.
Good morning to everybody. Regard to the discussion on the house, it's quite pertinent that the orientation system is getting key day by day, year by year, and the government they are lacking tips on how to revamp the education sector. The recent grid of the unified specialization jump score. Another key which have been brought in as if a kind of compensation to some certain section of the country. And it's quite pathetic that we start a thing that with all these kids, we are doing worsening the situation. We got the foundings of education in universities and other institutions in Nigeria. There are internet generated revenues that have been done in the school. All of the departmental deals, the SDP deals, and the students that all the other deals that have been in. This morning, discovered that I was one of the student union.
You know all the info, what goes on there. When this money are generated, the common law, their percentage want to go there and what the SPT will be left for the SPT to run another department, and even the environment department. The president environment department is talking with the HODs and other this thing. This money would have been channeled, and some of them they have plans and programs in which they will execute. The way they are a bit frustrated and they are left with nothing, there's nothing left. What is going in higher in our various institutions is corruption. And the government needs to fight a lot regarding the fact much would have been done. But if they are left on their own, but nobody, people you are saying you are going to take it up, will be frustrated and not disappointed. Because I had a lot of issues regarding to that. When I took on some cases, I was almost irritated. So we have to be concise in what we are doing, because the system is very corrupt, very, very corrupt. And there's nothing you can do if the corruption is not found head on.
Thank you so much, Ayo, for your contribution. It's really pathetic. I couldn't agree with you more on that. But you can call us up very quickly on 081 89 99 1011. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
In Nigeria.
Who is on the line?
Sorry, my name is Ifan.
Oh, Ifan is calling back very quickly, so we can pick other calls.
All right. The federal government is declaring an emergency on education sector and health. These are the two areas they are doing very wrong for a very long time. ASUU is the fact that public servants, children and families, they are sent public schools and public hospitals. Let us take it from there and see how we cannot get it right.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Again, we hear this kind of phrase, declaring a state of emergency. Does that really work?
Yeah, you know, we all stakeholders must come to the table and address these issues once and for all. The government must be sincere with ASUU, and ASUU also must also be sincere with government. There are demands that can be reached, and there are the ones that cannot be reached. We should arrive at a middle point and address these issues once and for all. My concern against ASUU, it's not that they don't have legitimate demands. They have their own demand, but there are ways of, you know, agitating for their demand. It's my problem. You can actually, you can take over the government, you can picket the government so that the government can listen to you. You can use advocacy, you can use the media to talk about your demands without necessarily subjecting the students.
Now, Olive, very quickly, isn't that one of the reasons why we have education tourism? The high rate, I mean, even our neighboring countries are beginning to come down to Nigeria to advertise their schools. So it seems like the international community knows pretty much the problems faced by Nigeria educationally.
That is very correct. That is very correct. That is why I mentioned that it's very important that ASUU and the federal government sit down to dialogue this. Because as a parent, you don't want to spend more to see your child through school. And in fact, you even know the impact strike has on your child. So you don't even want to risk that. Just like she said, disruption in academic calendar demoralizes one. And why will I put my child in a school that I know he won't come out as the way I want him to? Why not I send him to neighboring Benin or even, all those stuffs? So I think ASUU and the federal government should really sit down. Schools
like Ahmadu Bello University, schools like University of Ibadan and Nsukka, some of the biggest schools in the sub-regions, should they be seen facing the same problem as other smaller federal universities? I mean, at least even if it is that bad, shouldn't we see some of these bigger universities? Because I know Haru Spicer, 6 years was how many years you spent?
Yeah, 6 years.
But actually it's 7 years. Let me remind you, it's actually 7 years you spent. Okay. And you got your certificate in January, sometime in on the 11th. So you spent 7 years. I'm quite aware of that. So, I mean, look at that. is that not a bigger problem and a bigger challenge? Our kids are traveling out in the name of studying in China, different countries, and they end up being locked up for drug addiction.
Yes, capital flights is draining the economy. You gather money and ferry it to foreign land. After having your education, you come back again looking for job. Why not? You can't blame these guys, because you must come back home and you have to go out to get education. So the concern is, we're not talking of who is right or who is wrong. What can we do for the Nigerian project? The lecturers or university people are the best brain, if I can borrow that word, because they churn out whatever product we have in the society. So they must come up with very workable tools on how to engage the government to demand for their rights. Strike should not always be the option. It shouldn't always be the option. We've heard of strike. Strike is as popular as the word Nigeria. So what can we do for us to bury that word strike, so that we begin to sit in school? If you're going in for 4 years, you are sure that you're coming out in 4 years. This epileptic academic section, for me, kills the zeal for education. It pushes us to want to have education in neighboring countries like Benin, Niger Republic for that matter. Remember when Nigeria used to be the hub of intellectualism? People come from Germany, from everywhere for education. But today, reverse is the case. We go out in search of education. And you know what happens there? We are subjected to forms of abuses or racial, abuses, as the case may be. You can spend millions to study in the UK, for instance, and you're not even allowed to work.
Why is it that it's only Nigerians I see traveling out to study? We've not seen, the Westerners come into Nigeria, not even for the experience to study in Nigeria. We are always the ones traveling out. However, we still have countries like Nigeria and Chad coming in to study here. Well, unfortunately, we're running out of time, but final comments from you. Let's start with Maiwa.
Okay, to add to that, you did mention schools like Ahmadu Bello University, Nsukka, and the rest, how they shouldn't be experiencing all of this. I think no university, in fact, should experience strikes and all of that, because every university has bright minds, they have intelligent people, and the fact that it happens to anybody, they are killing brains, they are killing talents. In fact, I did mention some time ago that the graveyard is filled with so many songs that were never sung, so many masterpieces, so many poems, so many stories that were never written. And so the lives of those who are alive now, who are in this university, should be respected, because there's so many talents, so many things in them that can be worked on, that can be brought out. There's so many people that can work in the greatest and top places, who have great ideas for this nation, but if they are not trained, if they are not developed, then we're going nowhere.
Final comments, Olive?
Thank you very much. I think what I have to say is this. A lot has been said about this strike issue. It's not the first day we'll be discussing strike, but it's still left for government and ASUU to ensure after today, or after this particular one, that come October, ASUU won't have any other reason to go back to strike.
Harris Spice?
For ASUU too, they should be understanding of the federal government. I mean, it's not only the education sector that the federal government is servicing.
All right.
At the long run, we are all Nigerians. If we don't fix our problems, we'll continue to lament every day and every day. Thank you.
And from my own side, I'd like to say thank you so much to the panelists on the program, Harris Spice and the team. Well, she just joined us today. I keep forgetting. Maiwa. I'm trying to get used to your name as quickly as I can, and then Olive as well. Majid will be joining us pretty much sooner this week, and we'll continue like this from 9 a.m. until Saturday. Then we recap our stories and begin all over again on Monday. Have a great time on X-Ray. My name is Peter Kundum.
In a world filled with questions,